Good afternoon on what is a mild, grey and cloudy day. It is Thursday the 25th of January and I'm in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea. And a package to continue unboxing. And what I've got in here is Fiends of the Eastern Front, Volume 1. This is published by Rebellion and it's all sourced from the pages of 2000 AD. So, a luxury omnibus of classic supernatural war stories from the golden age of 2000 AD, expanded and updated definitive edition. Buried deep underground are the remains of the Wehrmacht soldier Hans Schmidt and his diary, which journals his eerie encounter with the Romanian captain Constanta and his platoon of blood-sucking freaks back in 1943, with the Russians willing to fight until the last man in order to defend Stalingrad. Panzer Grenadier Richter discovers Constance's secret and learns then sometimes your allies can be just as dangerous as the enemy. Feature breathtaking art of Carlos Ezquerra, just read, and Colin MacNeil, America, Chopper, Song of the Surfer, with stories from Gerry Finley Day, Rogue Trooper, David Bishop, Through Power Overload, and recent classics from Ian Edginton, Stickleback, Scarlet Traces, and Dave Kendall, Fall of Deadwall. So, one of the great things about Rebellion and the fact that, you know, in its ownership of 2000 AD is that is desire to curate and present the content from the pages in books like this. So you can pick up really decent omnibus editions of complete stories and long, actually sort of like not just complete stories, but complete runs of a comic, depending upon the length that it actually ran in 2000 AD. Because you've got to remember that 2000 AD now is 2024, is 47 years old. It started in 1977, and you know everyone remembers 2000 AD for Judge Dredd, and of course it's flagship character in the long-running comic strip, but there are plenty of others, and alongside that, hundreds of different stories have been run through the pages of 2000 AD, including Fiends of the East. And as much as 2000 AD has always been seen as a science fiction comic, it does and has done a lot of horror, mostly action horror, and this is included essentially with Fiends of the Eastern Front. So we open up, and this is signed there, and we're straight into the first story. Classic Carlos Ezquerra artwork there, I believe, and you can see every time the preface it does actually tell you the author, artist, and so on. And this in particular, this kind of story is pretty much in the style of the British comics of the time and earlier, because you had things like Battle and Commando and Action, sort of like which presented war stories in very sort of small comic book strip booklets, quite cheap, that you could pick up at your newsagents, and some of those have been reprinted, probably going back about 15 or so years. There are a couple of volumes that came out of those, and there were some science fiction ones as well. So there was that tradition, and this really does tie into that tradition. But because it's 2000 AD, because 2000 AD does science fiction and other genres, rather than straight World War II action stories, tales of heroism, and so on, it adds an element of horror and twists it. So it doesn't just do, the traditional vampire story. It also does, vampires on the Eastern Front. you know, the thing is, you would read this and it's just there for enjoyment, but it's also, you know, I'm thinking this, well, could this be inspiration for something else? You know, for role playing or something like that, and you would think of run a Acton Cthulhu game, perhaps with you as Russian soldiers facing off against vampires on the Eastern Front. But I think you don't have to. It's literally there just for you to read and enjoy. And the other thing it also showcases is just the malleability of the vampire story. The vampire can get everywhere, become a true threat. You know, and in this case, you have a threat, sort of like both from within, because the story is being told from sort of like the point of view of character, basically German soldiery on the Eastern Front. So you know, a threat from within, and sort of like alongside as well, because it's and you know, whether or not you can see that as sort of like an allegory for anything, you know, whether that's the you know, the politics and so on of the period, you know, that which would also poison the war, as it were. So you have essentially quite an extensive sort of like selection of stories written, you know, drawn by Carlos Ezquerra, and written by, basically, see if I go back and get the author, by Gerry Finley Day, and it just come up to other authors in here, so I'm going to throw it further forward. So Stalingrad, this is by Bishop, so you've got quite a bit of a lengthy classic run, several stories there, and then we have a complete change in the style of artwork. This is much more, this is more modern. It doesn't give you the dates when these stories appeared, but you can sort of tell partly by the artwork. And it's absolutely terrific. I'm really looking forward to reading this, digging in. And then we move on, because there were other artists and authors in here as well. And 1812, this is by Ian Edginton. It's art by Dave Kendall, written by Edginton. It's 1812. You can see this is comes up to more to date because it switches to colour. But again, this switches back. Again, it's Fiends of the Eastern Front, and here we are dealing with 1812, the invasion of Russia by the French under the command of Napoleon Bonaparte, and some of the things here that the monsters, basically the French invaders, will encounter. Just not the same necessarily, but here you can see all its gloomy, bloody darkness. And then this is by Guy Adams, Strange Meeting. And this looks to be, I don't know if this is World War I or World War II, but and then Hannah Berry, art by Dunai. This is Fodder. slightly different artwork. I mean, again, this is even more, again, still modern, but because you've got the splashes of colour. A nice, basically, illustrated piece there. Bibliographies of all the artists and authors involved. And if we switch back here, we do actually have a list just in there in the credits of where these individual stories appeared, which issues of the long-running science fiction magazine, basically the world's longest-running science fiction comic, as it were. So this is Fiends of the Eastern Front. Really look forward to giving this a read and enjoying. Maybe it will be inspiration for a game, maybe not. Doesn't matter if it isn't. But in the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings of the Nook, where you see me out here with a package containing a book or game, typically a role-playing game or supplement. In this case, a comic book published by Rebellion, which I will unbox and talk about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing of the Nook. I will be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.